You know, I thought that was going to be a completely different direction. I thought you were going to say, after I rub it all over my face, then look in the mirror and realize my whole face is black, and then I'm a bigot, and that's why I'm banned. I thought you were going to wrap it around full circle,
That sounds
but
like
I'm a little bit unimpressed.
That's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I thought that's where you were going to get at. But I wanted to start the interview. We're chilling down the block from where CPAC's being held.
Yep.
Why aren't I interviewing at CPAC? It's because you were kicked out. So tell me a little bit more about why you came and your experience here at CPAC.
I came to advertise censored.tv because not enough people know about it, especially since we were forced to change the name from freespeech.tv. So I reluctantly came here. I hate going to these things. It's all 22-year-olds saying the exact same thing every time. Gavin, big fan. Shake the hand, which is like not a shaking your hand, but I want to touch you. I want you. And then I've been following your video, watching your videos for a while now, but they don't watch censored.tv. They're just the free stuff. And then they go, can I get a selfie? They get a selfie. They're often shaking because they're so excited. If they go like this, I feel their hand vibrating, which is annoying. And then they go, keep doing what you're doing. You helped me get political or red-pilled me or something. And then they walk away, which doesn't sound like a big deal. Try it 180 times, and you want to blow your fucking head off. Anyway, I was kind of itching to get kicked out, but I'm really annoyed that CPAC and conservatives in general are such cucks, and they're so eager to be trampled on, and so petrified of the left not liking them. Like when I would do Fox News with Sean Hannity, Sean Hannity was talking about spring break and how dangerous it is and girls are getting raped. And then Jon Stewart on The Daily Show did a whole thing about how Sean Hannity wants spring break to end. He wants it to be a sausage fest. Meanwhile, there were girls being raped. He had a valid point. But the bigwigs at Fox were like, oh shit, The Daily Show's making fun of us. And I go, who gives a fuck? Can you imagine Jon Stewart going, oh no, Sean Hannity was making fun of me? It would never happen. So there's this masochistic thing of the fear and weakness on the right. And so I see Jared Holt and Will Sommer there and the guy from Mediaite and some like Antifa dude with a cane. And they all have press passes. I couldn't get a press pass. And you look at their Twitter feed, and what they do is they're just there to mock CPAC. So you know how there's eccentrics at every rally?
Which is free speech, right?
Sure. I don't want them banned.
Which is free speech, and they should be able to attend the event, right? But
they should be able to attend the event, but they get press passes above people like me and Jacob Wall. We're not allowed. So they put a value on those people. If it was all fair, I wouldn't have a problem with this.
Respectfully, I feel like the natural follow-up should be, you said they were banning people like you to kind of try to appease the left. Is that why you think they're banning you? What is the root for the cause of people like you being banned?
There's two bans going on here. There was me not getting a media pass, and that was because I'm controversial and it's not worth it and he's unpredictable and fun, and they're not fun. The second banning was being banned just as a customer. I paid $300 to come, and I'm explaining the Jared Holt thing to explain the impetus for me going over to them and going, what are you doing here, you pussies? Because everyone else, they know they're there to sabotage them, and they just smile and wave and walk by them like, these people aren't here to report. They're here to fuck with us, so tell them to fuck off.
Sure. But in a certain respect, you are a controversial figure. You have said controversial things in the past. I want to follow up because some people may not be familiar. What do you think the most controversial thing you've said in the past is? Something that got you in trouble? And would you think twice about saying those things because of the repercussions, or will you still act and despite people coming after you like that?
You learn as you get older and you have theories for a while. I used to believe that most black people were midgets, and I don't think that's true anymore. I've walked around. In fact, there's very few black midgets, and most black people are normal-sized. I was wrong about that. Another belief I had for a long time was that Chinese was a made-up language. And they were just going, Chung Chao Chi.
But now to be respectful to people who do call you this kind of, fringe figure.
Why are we being
why are they saying
them?
that? Why are they saying things like that about you? That you are the founder of the Proud Boys. That has been involved, I'm not going to say initiated violence, but has been involved with violence.
They stood up for themselves, defended themselves. The Proud Boys myth is easy to refute. We don't go to their things, they go to our things. Mark Bray, who wrote the Antifa handbook, he had a whole book tour. There's no Proud Boys at any of those readings, but Patriot Prayer has a free speech rally. On the way out, after being disarmed by the police for going into the perimeter, they're disarmed, they're leaving, Antifa's there to ambush them on a regular basis, again and again and again. And up until Proud Boys, conservatives were just taking it. They were taking the bike locks to the head. They were taking the bottles to the head. They were taking the bottles of piss, the feces, the batteries at Deplorable that were being whipped at our heads. And Proud Boys were the first to say, no, I'm not taking a battery to the head. I'm going to stand up for myself. Like the fight that happened the night of my talk, they were invited to a fight. Antifa built a human wall on an ambush and was throwing piss at them. And Proud Boys said yes. That was not initiating a fight. They don't go looking for
and it became a street fight. And street fights are street fights, to be
Street
fair.
fights are total. There was just one last night.
Didn't care. It wasn't no Proud Boys involved, so they don't care?
Exactly. It was 10 seconds, 15 seconds long. Bottles flying, smashing. They cleaned up the glass. And 2 minutes later, you would have no idea that there had been a fight there. In the case of the Proud Boys,
this also happens all the time, though. Yeah, and fights happen all the time.
Well, that's why the police ignored it.
So, yeah.
The Antifa told the cops to fuck off, and they went.
You go to any baseball game, any football game, fights are very common. So
there's 100 happening right now in every major city in the country. And if someone is seriously injured, they can press charges. We have to see your injuries, so the victims would go to the hospital and have, here's they cracked my eye socket, whatever. Here's the X-ray. Then you go to court, and that's how it's handled. We've been working on this since the Magna Carta. But in the case of the Proud Boys, they said we need to vilify the right. So let's turn Gavin into Hitler, which worked. The judge
make for a very bad Hitler.
The judge said this fighting reminds me of 1930s Europe. He said that at the
They tried to make an example out of the Proud
Exactly.
Boys.
And they said these are the brown shirts. And they did it because the DNC was getting known as violent and they wanted to obfuscate the narrative, so they said these guys are brown. And it's a fucking lie.
So now the natural follow-up, you guys are being banned on some platforms. I know you guys have a YouTube channel, though. A variable amount of you guys are being banned on different platforms. What is the move forward from here now that you guys are being banned? What are you guys going to do?
Well, I'm not in control of it. I never was. There's about 5,000 Proud Boys around the world. They have their own chapters. We have our tenets, which Proud Boys keep spelling wrong because I think a lot of them are blue collar and not very sophisticated literary wise, and they think it's tenants, like in a building. Tenets, guys. Tenets. But anyway, those are all written out. Multiracial group, pro-Israel, don't care about gays. They're not groypers by any means. And just like the Knights of Columbus, you follow those rules. I mean, the Knights of Columbus were being called a radical all-men's group recently. So the nomenclature of Proud Boys being a hate group that the SPLC invented, that I'm suing for, was effective, and it's likely irrevocable. I don't think anyone will ever go, we were wrong about the Proud Boys.
Another follow-up would be, now, I'm no fan of censorship, but is there ever reasons to ban people on any of these platforms? The question kind of is, or any of these bans, do you think warranted, or is this really social media just going wild? You guys aren't the only people being banned on the internet.
No, the way you can...
Like calling for violence, where do people draw the line? Is there a line
the
for
law's there. The law is already there. Parler does a great job. It says we will, if you're threatening to kill somebody and it's plausible and it's not a joke, then we will ban you because that's illegal. We have laws for this. And America was famous for that. This is the First Amendment country. And we had it under control. There are psychos there who are stalking some chick and taking a picture of her shopping. That's illegal. That's harassment. He's gone. Now, there is one weird thing, and it complicates my argument. But I've noticed, like when I had a website and I had comments, when you get the Holocaust denier super anti-Semites, beyond Groyper even, just like Jews are responsible for everything.
David Duke types and beyond.
Yes.
Amongst them.
I have noticed that they will pollute the well, and then other people stop going in to comment, and it's kike this, shekels that. And the next thing you know, that's 100% of your comments.
It's a hostile environment towards commenters once it starts getting over
right.
anti-Semitic
It's just
comments.
it could be anything. This is just a pattern I noticed. It could be like when you talk about tits, and your chat thing will become all tits overnight. So forget that it's Jews. It's just a thing that just takes over, and it's tedious. Like Mike Cernovich said, I'm happy to talk about Israel and Jews once a month.
And to be
Not
fair, it's
every
the
fucking
internet.
day.
The internet. The worst of people comes out on the internet. Sure. But I did want to.
And the worst of 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Everyone assumes that the guy writing that comment is some, minister of industry. It's often a little kid. But anyway, on a small scale, I can see deleting users like that because it's tedious. But on a big scale, when you're controlling the conversation for the entire country, you have to even include those freaks.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Groypers. I know at the National File, you were one of the speakers there. Another speaker there was kind of the leader of the Groypers, Nick Fuentes.
Yes.
So as long as you were speaking at events, aren't you kind of associating yourself with these Groypers? Not to say that everybody speaking at the event now becomes Nick Fuentes, but you are alongside these people and platforming these people. So while you're saying these bad things about them, in the same vein, aren't you also side by side with them in many respects?
To have the right to speak. Yes. I don't even think they're that radical. Like when I talk to them, I'm a Zionist. They're anti-Israel. They're not even anti-Israel. They're anti-Israel getting money. They're anti-everyone getting money.
I think the Groypers are a little bit beyond just anti-Zionists. I think there's anti-Semitic elements to the Groypers. I think there's racist elements to the Groypers.
Okay. But
Do you not see any of that?
As far as what they say officially...
Well, the Groypers don't have a... From the Groypers that I'm familiar
when
with
I
on Twitter, and then
I
their
talk to
leader,
Nick,
I
I'm
think
like-
their leader says anti-Semitic and racist things. I
when
think
I-
Nick has said racist and anti-Semitic
Well,
things.
he's against race mixing, right?
Okay. But beyond that, he said
most
offensive
black
things about
women I
black
know are
people.
against race mixing.
He said racist things, anti-Semitic things against Jews, racist things against black people.
Yeah, look, when I question him about those things, and I'm not here to defend Nick Fuentes, by the way.
But when you're alongside him, you're able to get swept up in all of that together. Is the question.
I mean, I've given up on avoiding that, but
Sure.
for the record, I had no idea I'd be talking with Nick.
Okay.
If you look at my feed, it was the Alex Jones
Not
Freedom
that Nick should be deplatformed. I want that clear.
Of course not. But the way it was pitched to me was Millie Weaver, Alex Jones, and I doing a talk at Omni Hotel, and it's on my parlor. It was like the First Amendment conference or something. I was surprised to see Nick. Even last night, and I've never heard of National File before either. So I went to that party last night, National File party. I don't even know are they Groypers?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I go to that
But I know
thing,
that the leader
and
of the
they go,
Groypers was there.
Coming up next, Gavin McInnes. I hadn't heard of it. So I just got up there and told Groypers that if they love traditionalism so much, get married and have kids. And stop fucking telling everyone else they're living their life wrong. Why don't you start your life? And then I told all the other incels there who didn't know how to talk to chicks, how to talk to chicks. So I just made a joke thing about getting laid.
Do you think there's a strong overlap between incels and Groypers?
Well, there's not in the definition of an incel to me is like these weird autistic guys with fedoras who have never spoken to a girl once. I think a lot of the Groypers are sort of nerdy rich kids who are sort of infantilized and they see girls as having cooties. And they will get to them eventually, but they don't seem like libidinous, horny men to me.
It's also difficult to tell because a lot of this stuff's happening on the internet, and then again, you never know who's behind the face of this.
12-year-olds. But I've sort of kept a safe distance from Nick. Besides, the past 2 days where I was sort of duped. I've never had him on my show. I let Milo have him as a guest. But I think that my biggest problem with Groypers isn't really their politics. Anyone can have an opinion. As long as you're not making policy, go bananas. Shit on Israel all you want.
Absolutely.
Say all the racist shit you want. But I don't like this dissension in the right before the election. I don't like I love Charlie Kirk.
I feel like that was the goal of the Groypers. Part of the goal of the movement was to give a headache to the people who aren't listening to their kind of problems.
And that's how a youth movement starts. I hope I die before I get old. So the Groypers thing is like, you're okay, boomer. You're all old. I'm washed up. Me personally, I'm saying. And we're the cool new wave. And the way you do that is to shit on the establishment. It's not adventurous to shit on Nancy Pelosi, but it's adventurous to shit on Charlie Kirk. He's only a few years older than you. So they do that, and I go, that's all fun and games, boys, but we're in a culture war right now. Like Steve Bannon going to testify against Roger Stone because they have a personal beef. Steve, I get the personal beef, but this is a real courtroom, and Roger Stone's going to prison, and this is a huge win for the left. So can we bury the hatchet at least until November? That's what I don't like about it.
I want to thank you so much for your time, Gavin. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. But I wanted to give you the last word as well. Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I'm a moderate. What
was your most controversial opinion? I didn't feel like I didn't get a nice, solid answer on that. I know one of the things you said about transsexuals was that they are just weird gays.
Mentally ill gays. That's pretty weird.
Is that the most controversial thing?
Sure. I don't have an opinion about race per se. I have a very mainstream opinion about Israel. Like most Christians, I'm pro-Israel. I don't really care about gays.
Do you condemn political violence?
That's a loaded question. It's not that simple.
Okay.
I mean,
Elaborate.
I've seen you do interviews where you ask this, and the people, the left-wingers won't condemn it. We're not in a normal situation. So when I say I don't condemn political violence, of course not. I don't condemn a group of Proud Boys going to find some Antifa and kicking the shit out of it.
You don't condemn that? Why not?
I mean, sorry, I don't condone that. I don't condone that.
So you condemn political violence, not condone and condemn sound similar. Let's be clear.
You're right. I condemn political violence.
Yes.
However, when someone's attacking you, you have to fight back.
Self-defense is different too. It's distinct from that, and I heard a lot of leftists say that too. So initiating the violence, because somebody's initiating these fights.
Yes.
Antifa and
Well, there's
Cowboys are
strange
fighting.
ways they initiated too. This is where it gets great. Like at Deplorable, there was 500 people ready to kill us. There was a hit list that they had published with our faces and names. Meanwhile, we're just going to a fancy dress dance, a ball, and this Antifa guy walks in front of me with his flag, and he kind of bumps me and goes like that. Now, I said to him, "You want to?" I said, "Get the fuck out of my way," and I shoved him. And then
Not unreasonable response.
So it looks like I'm starting a fight.
Yeah.
And he says, "You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to fucking go." And I punched him in the face. Now, in that context, right? This is a wolf with a pack of wolves behind him, and the wolf is going. Argh. So you kick the wolf in the head to show the other pack that this isn't easy prey.
So these are agitators, is what you're
Right. If I had gone, now the rest of them smell blood, and now we're all dead. And that was
That's what happened with Andy No, I feel like, as well. One person hit him, then they saw easy target, an easy lick, and then everybody ganged up
Exactly.
on him too.
They're like animals. You have to go rah, rah, to get them back. And at my talk, yes, Antifa were there and they ran at them, sure. But you have to look at the context of a week of violence, smashed windows, we are not civil, this is only the beginning, throwing bottles of piss all night, attacking a journalist outside of my talk, beating the shit out of him and stealing all his stuff. Within all of that context, now you're four gay guys walking home at a homophobic rally in a homophobic culture. And that's a totally different context.
Not to mention there's a liberal media backing these guys. But
And lawyers.
Yeah. But again, thank you for your time. Well, final
Thanks for
words?
having me, man.
Final words?
To quote George Orwell, within every joke is a tiny revolution.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Gavin McInnes.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate that. Thank you.